welcome to another video with Blocks Builder. In today's video we're going to have an overview look at our new brick column flow. Now column flow is a unique brick in that it doesn't give us an HTML structure of columns, but it uses CSS to make dynamic flowing columns for our content. And so that sounds fancy, so we're going to take a look now at how that works and what we can do with it. So I have here just a basic project, and I have a story here that was written by ChatGPT to make things easy. I've got an any video brick in my content here. I've got an image, and these are nice scenes from New Zealand, just so you can admire the great country I'm from. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our column flow brick to the bottom down here. The unique thing about column flow, or the good thing, it's not so unique, is that you can add multiple versions of column flow because this is basically a dynamic CSS generator. And so you can see here in the brick itself it says column flow as the class that's been assigned to it. So we can add customized classes, and so you can have multiple instances of this and have different layouts of your content all on the same page without any conflict. So with our column flow selected, we're going to come over here to our settings, and to start off with, we're just going to come down to our second lot of options here, which says assigned class. And this is where we can set our unique custom class for this particular column flow brick. It'll default as column flow, but we can also add our own sort of classes here, and it will automatically structure as well. So as you type and add a space, it will hyphenate to make sure that our formatting is correct for CSS. So I'm just going to change that back to column flow, and if we like, we can actually use the copy class button to copy it to our clipboard, and hopefully it did that. It can be temperamental in blocks at times for some reason. It's given us an alert there. It's been copied to our clipboard. So I'm going to come up to the parent container of our content here, which is this column, and this is where I'm going to apply the class. And as I add the class to our column, you'll see straight away that our content is now flowing according to the default options in column flow. And I'm just going to come down here to column flow, and we'll do a quick run through the options and then look at how things work. So at the top here, we have, under our design canvas, we have a canvas edit mode. And the reason why we have that is because sometimes blocks will struggle with being able to select flowing content. For example, if I try and select this paragraph down here, we'll find that it's really hard to do that. We can with other items, but as soon as an element is wrapping between columns, it becomes a little bit difficult on the canvas. You can select them in the layer tree, but that can become problematic as well. So what we did is we built in this tick box, and which, when enabled, brings our content back to one column. It allows us to easily manage our content without that disruption or that the problems in blocks there, and allows us to go through and edit our content without any problems. So you can toggle this on or off, and if you've got it on and you go to preview, it will actually ignore that and it will go back to its to whatever settings you've got applied. So it's quite cool. This is just on the canvas view. The next option we have here is canvas outline. What that will do is, you can see here around our content, and you can see up the top here on the right, we actually have the class that we've got applied. And so whatever custom class you use will actually change here. And you can turn this off or on the canvas. So we could have our 3 columns there, and we could turn off our overlay if we wanted to. So it's just all up to you. And of course, in preview, the outline doesn't show, it's gone. It's only on the design canvas. And the next option we have here is our assigned class, and this is where you can set your customized class, as we just did a moment ago. Our next set of options affect our column flow, and we've got maximum number of columns. We can set a width, and we can set a gap. Now the number of columns and the width work together dynamically based on the viewport, or the width of the browser window. And so what this will do is it will say, okay, I'm going to try a maximum of 3 columns, and I'm going to have a width of 300 on the columns. So if the width is longer than 3 columns to take up the space, it will do that. But as the width shrinks down and these columns fall down to 300 pixels, it'll actually drop down to 2 columns. And so we'll have a look at that in just a second. And then we can set a gap. And so if I set the gap here to 0, you'll see all our content now longer has a gap around the columns. And so that's kind of self-explanatory that way. And then we come on to our column separator, and we have widths, different styles, and we can assign a color, and we have support for global swatches also. So we could change this to red, and now we'll see our column separator is red. We can make it a bit thicker. We can change it to dashed, dots, or a doubled line. The double line kind of needs a wider divider. You'll find that as you go down and you get closer to 1, it almost looks like a solid line. So it's probably less likely you'll use that one. You can of course also have none. So we're going to change that to, let's make that 2, and we'll make that dotted. Great. Okay, and we'll keep that as red. So before we move on to our next options, I'm just going to show you the way this works, and we'll come back to our column flow. So we're going to preview this. Now actually, just as a quick reminder, we've got our options set to 3 columns and a width of 300 pixels. So as we preview, and we'll see now we've got our 3 columns, and as we bring the viewport in and those columns fall back to 300 pixels wide, the content will drop into 2 columns. So the 300 pixels wide is not a fixed width for the columns. It helps with the dynamic switch. So as as this width here drops down to 300 pixels, when it gets to 300 pixels, it'll drop down to 2 columns. And as we see it drop there, boom. And of course, as we go further down, as the width of the columns get to 300, we'll go to 1 column. And of course, we can't go any lower than 1. So it works really dynamically, nice and smooth. And of course, you can customize this based on your content. So if you increase this to 4 columns, you'll find that you won't see 4 here if your width is set to too wide. So because we've got it to 300, they actually fit within the frame of our content here, the border of our content. It fits nicely in 3 columns. So if I change the width down to, let's change this to 250, we'll find that we have 4 columns. And if we go and preview that, once again, as the columns get down to 250 pixels, the number of columns will drop down. And to our maximum that we set, which is 4. Okay, so hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Play around with that just if you're not too sure, and it will start to make sense for you. Okay, coming down here to our content flow options, and actually we'll just change this back to 200 and 300. The reason why I do that is our first option is auto hyphenation. And if we come up to our content here, and we can see a boutique interior design firm, and we can see the design has been hyphenated. Now, if we untick auto hyphenation, we'll find that design has actually moved down a line, boutique interior design, so it's removed the hyphenation. And we also have an option here for natural language breaks. And if you hover over all these items, you will get tooltips that explain what this means. So natural language breaks, the uses natural language rules for breaking. And let me bring that back up again. Uses natural language rules for breaking, avoiding abrupt mid-word breaks. Our next option for overflow wrap ensures long words don't overflow but only break when needed. And we have this last option called Smart Flow, which gives you the best balance of the best CSS markup for creating a balanced content flow. And most people just use Smart Flow. And now there's an important note here to mention, is that all layout behaviors are actually rendered in the browser. So this is not like your traditional columns in HTML markup where you've actually got the structure of the columns. This is all handled with CSS. So it behaves a little bit differently. So it really depends on the browser and how it handles the different styling properties. So there are some variations in the results you'll get. But all the options here specifically set standard CSS properties, and then it's up to the browser to what the outcome is going to be. So I'm just letting you know in case there is some slight variations from what you're after. But in most cases it works reasonably well. So okay, so that's just that warning aside. So don't send me a message saying it's not looking what I like. It just is the way the browser does interpret the CSS. So if we untick SmartFlow here, we'll find that we have a bunch of options that you can customize. And now this here is really for more advanced users that understand some CSS. What we have here, and as I say, there's tooltips for everything. We have under elements, these are the elements that are handled by the window and orphan settings. These are just separated by commas, by the way. We have avoids. So what avoids are is items that will try to avoid breaking on. So we don't want it to break halfway through an image and try and put the top part of the image on one column and on the other column the bottom part of the image, and things like tables. And of course you can add additional things there. No hyphens. This at the moment is just preset for headings because to avoid doing hyphenations on headings. But of course you can override that or completely remove those if you wish. And no overflow is just another setting to helps prevent, and see the tooltip, better wording, helps ensure, I've got to stop moving the mouse, helps ensure long words don't overflow but only breaks when needed. And again, of course, these are all interpreted by the browser, so there is some variation. The other option we have down the bottom here is an option that we have in a lot of our bricks where you can define a color, and it color syncs. So as you change the color of the brick, which is handy if you've got multiple instances of column flow on your page, it will actually also change the color of the outline. As you can see, it's changed to the matching color. We go to orange. We've got an orange brick, and also our outline is now orange. And that's really just helpful if you've got multiple instances. And of course the default blue. And we have a button down here that goes to our video tutorial that you're watching now, and maybe any more that we add to it. So that's a bit of an overview of using column flow. If you've got any questions about it, please drop me an email and I'll reply. And if it needs further, greater clarification of a common question, I'll create another video for that. Okay, well, have a fantastic day. Enjoy.